Salon owners, have you ever had that moment in your business where you realized way too late that you should have had something in writing? Maybe a no-show policy that actually holds up. Maybe it's a rental agreement that protects you, or even to make sure that no one else steals your salon name. Yes, all the legal stuff that isn't the most exciting part about business, but it is the most crucial part of running a business. So, not having the legal protections can really start to cost you. And it is a disaster waiting to happen. So today on the podcast, I was so excited to talk to Nicole Oden. She's an attorney who makes legal stuff super, super easy to understand, less overwhelming. And we break down all of the different things that you need to have in place for your salon so that you are protected. The trademarks, the contracts, all the things you maybe didn't even know you needed to have in place. So you do not want to miss this. Trust me. Not only is Nicole amazing, but this is crucial for your business. It's not always the fun part, and it is a non-negotiable. So I can't wait for you to listen to the show with Nicole. Welcome, Nicole. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and tell everyone who you are and all about you.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today. My name is Nicole Cheri Oden. I'm a licensed attorney in California. I've been licensed for 13 years now. And I work with online business owners who are looking to protect their business and their brands with contracts and trademarks. And, my main mission really is just to simplify legal for business owners. I think that a lot of business owners kind of run from the idea of getting a solid legal foundation in place because it feels so overwhelming and expensive, and it doesn't have to be. And so that's where I come in.
I 100% am one of those business owners before, not now, but before, especially because as most salon owners, we get into this industry because we love doing hair. We love working with people. But when it comes to the business side, unless you already had a lot of business knowledge coming into owning a salon, you have no idea where to start. And I've been in business now, 13 years? And I'm still learning. I have quite a bit in place, but I'm still learning how much we need to protect ourselves. And that's the thing with our salon owners today. Anyone listening, you may have already felt like you've had some issues come up, or you have been put in a place where a client is unhappy and you wish you had those contracts, or trademarking and somebody's taking and stealing your information. And it is so overwhelming to try to figure all that out. And that is literally why I'm so excited to have you on today, so that we can break it down very simplified. Because when we've had our meetings and talked and gone over things, you really do make it so simple. So I'm really excited to have you on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think it's true. A lot of business owners that, don't have the business background, or they just prioritize the fun, shiny things in business. And let's face it, it's a lot more fun to build the website and get the branding in place and open the shop versus sitting down and getting solid policies in place for your clients, or, exploring what trademark protection looks like, or forming an LLC or a corporation. But a lot of the time it's those clients that come to me after the fact who have a more expensive mess to clean up, because not only are we dealing with the present situation, but then we're also putting the protections in place that can't protect you retroactively, but they can protect you going forward. So, they tend to be expensive lessons. And so I enjoy kind of talking about these concepts with business owners, because I think the more that we're aware, the more that we understand, they really do form a foundational piece of your business. If you want to build a lasting business, I think that it just better serves salon owners, business owners, who may not have that background.
100%. And most of us don't come into the business with that background. So the important thing no matter where you're at on your journey, whether you're just starting out and you're getting ready to add all of these things because you've listened to the podcast and you're like reaching out to Nicole to say, help me, or you have maybe been in business for a long time and you're ready to start implementing these and get them into place now. I know a lot of salon owners and beauty professionals just really don't realize that they need the legal protection until it's already too late. I've heard so many horror stories. So could you tell us like maybe what are some of the biggest legal blind spots that we should be aware of to start?
Yeah, I think for salon owners, for practitioners in the salons, one of the most overlooked and easiest things that you can do is really get solid policies in place for your clients when booking. So having them displayed on your website, having them within your booking software, having your clients sign something when they visit the salon before their appointment starts, things as simple as cancellations. Like, what's the window for your client to be able to cancel? Because a lot of professionals purchase product in advance of appointments. And so can your client, cancel 24 hours, 48 hours? If they do cancel, in a shorter period of time, are they responsible for the whole, what you would have made from the service? Do they cover the product? What does that look like? No-show fees. I mean, if they just don't even bother to cancel and they just don't show up, what does that look like? And if you have those policies very clearly explained on the website and the booking software, on the document the client signs when they show up to the salon, there is that knowledge of the policies. So the clients can be held to that versus you have somebody that cancels and you're just out the product, you're out the time slot, and you're maybe taking walk-ins, maybe you're just taking an early lunch that day. It's one of the very basic, simple things that you can do.
I have to tell you my system because I think a lot of salon owners will relate to this. And I felt like when I brought this whole system into place, my stylist kind of was like a little, I don't want to say they were against it, but they were like, what is all of this? And isn't this like overkill? So on my website, before they ever book, there is a cancellation policy. When they book the appointment, they get the cancellation policy again. When they book an appointment, brand new appointment, they get a whole form to fill out. Like, so we know it's our consultation ahead of time. We go over everything in person, but this way we know, like maybe if they have allergies to something, then we don't bring that around them, right? All the things, and just to make their experience better. But in that form, we have cancellation policy, we have the redo policy, the product refund policy, and a photo form. If they want us to take photos and photo release, all of those are in there. So that's for any new client. Every single client that books an appointment, I don't care if they've been coming to us for 5 years, 2 times, it doesn't matter. Immediately when they book the appointment, they get another form, and it's literally like click, 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 I accept, easy. But it has, that form is the cancellation, the redo, the product, and the photo form, allowing us to take photos and everything. So that they have to do every single time they book an appointment. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
It makes my lawyer heart happy. No, and I think something that you pointed out with the photo release, a lot of people don't think, oh, I'm going to snap a photo, it's okay to share it. Under copyright laws, you own the photo, but the person that's in the photo has name, image, and likeness rights. And so there is kind of this weird space between, if you go post a client's photo online without their permission, then they can turn around and ask for potential royalties from like business you made off of sharing their photo with their hairdo. And it just opens up Pandora's box for all sorts of situations if you have a client that is less than stellar, and you don't want to be dealing with these weird claims. So kudos.
Thank you. So, and that's what I was trying to explain to my my staff is like, this is in there to protect. I've had a few clients be like, why do I have to sign this every time? I said, because we have to legally be protected. And I will tell you a story of how this actually came back and helped me. We had a client come in and she got a head spa service. I was there and I didn't perform it. My stylist did, but I was there and she came down. She looked so relaxed. And I'm like, how was it? Oh, it was wonderful. She was excited. I don't remember or recall whether she bought product or not, but she left. 2 months later, we get a nasty email. No, we didn't get a nasty email. We get a nasty review saying that it was the worst experience she's ever had. And, that she can't believe she spent so much money and all of this, right? 2 months later, it's been 2 months since she had a head spa. So, and you can't mess up a head spa. It's like you either relax or you don't, but whatever, right? So she sent that. I immediately on the review was like, oh my goodness, we're so sorry that experience, like we're reaching out to you personally. So I send her an email and I'm like, hey, like it's been 2 months. Like I remember you said that you were relaxed. So like, what can we do? Like what happened from now until then? Because her whole thing was like, it's so noisy. And it was very much like, she just said she didn't relax. I'm like, this, because there's no like chemicals that we're using. We can't burn her or anything. Actually, she did say that the water got too hot, that it burnt her scalp. I'm like, are you serious? So, so I'm talking to her and I'm emailing back and forth. And I get a phone call from another beauty professional in the area. Yep. And she said, so I noticed you got a review from this one particular client. I just wanted to talk to you. Like, she left me a nasty review too. And she's actually done it to a few beauty professional, like service providers in the area. So we collected a bunch of information, screenshots of her leaving reviews like later after the fact. And she was emailing me back and forth, like demanding that I would refund her all her money. That if not, she was going to leave the review up. But if I refunded her money, she would take the review down. So long story short, we gathered a bunch of information and she had signed that form. And in the form, it says you have 7 days to let us know if there's anything wrong with your service, your color, your cut, whatever. You have 7 days to let us know. She waited 2 months and just did it in a review. So I got a cease and desist and I emailed the client back and I was like, look, we've already gone through, like, I'm trying to take care of you. And we now have documentation that you're doing this to multiple businesses. So here is a cease and desist. And if you do not stop, she didn't take the, what's it called? The review down. Yeah, she didn't take the review down, but I told her that she had no legal action to go forward. Like, you can't, I'm not giving you a dime back and you're being banned from here.
Yeah.
Because I had her sign that, I could have backup, right? And that was huge because it was a whole whirlwind. And you go down this whole rabbit hole of like feeling bad and like, I mean, it could have gotten really worse.
Yeah. Well, and I think to a stylist, they become friends with their clients, right? They build these relationships. So a lot of them think, oh, it's just so legally. I don't have to worry about that. My clients are good. You don't need it until you need it. And so it's such a better practice to have something in place. So when the situation arises, because it's not if, it is when you are going to have a client that is problematic, you have that paper trail. I mean, it's just so much more protective for you. It minimizes the headache and the stress and the loss of income. So yeah, it's just such a better practice to make sure it's in place in advance.
And I'm so thankful that I had it in place before I had the issue, right?
Yep.
So with our community, we are focused on more non-toxic, holistic, sustainable practices. Are there any specific legal considerations that we should have when we're like promoting these types of products or claims?
Yeah, so you just need to be very careful in terms of what you're saying about the products. You don't want to be making any guarantees. You don't want to be touting things that aren't supported by actual documented like FDA approvals. And I think we've come so far in terms of natural homeopathic products, and I think the world really is kind of shifting to more of that type of approach, just with the rise of cancers and everything going on health wise, not just in the US, but internationally. Um, but there is a lot of puffery, is what they call it, in terms of marketing and advertising, and like use this one product and all of your wrongs will be cured. And, you just want to be very careful when you're describing the products and what they do and not overselling what they're capable of accomplishing.
I agree. And that's why, like, we got away from saying that we are an organic hair salon. We're a low toxic, we're holistic. We do have clean beauty and sustainable beauty. So we keep to those broader terms. There's nothing specific. I'm not telling you that my hair color is free of all chemicals and whatever. So we really try to keep that more of a broad, and that word holistic, so they know we're doing all of the things, but we can't guarantee anything. And I've seen some other stylists or salon owners really honing in on that, and it's a scary thing because they can come back and say something. So is there any contracts or anything that we should have in place, or should we just be careful with our wording?
Being careful with your wording, but I think also in that initial document that you have your, client sign, having liability language in there that they're releasing you from liability, and they're disclosing things like allergies to products or any medical issues they're having. And I know that a lot of salon professionals be like, okay, well, that's a lot to ask for somebody to come get their hair done. But in the same vein, a lot of people that are seeking the more holistic approach do have medical issues or conditions that they're trying to address naturally. And so it's better to be prepared and know if they have a skin condition or an allergy, or because you don't want to be using a product because you didn't ask, and then you're causing inflammation and, a reaction or those types of things because you didn't ask and didn't include the language that says you're not responsible if they don't disclose certain things and there's a reaction as a result.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about, like, your doctor asks you those things. Estheticians and
Yep.
massage therapists, they ask you in those forms. So why is it any different just because you're getting your hair done? Especially because if you think about it, like masseuse, they're manipulating your muscles, but they're not using chemicals.
Yeah.
So like we have to have that protection because we do use chemicals on our clients, and we can't be held responsible if their medication or their thing has a adverse reaction to the chemical.
Yep.
We would never be able to know that.
I mean, if you go to your dentist's office now, they send you like a whole electronic form in advance. So you have to go through and like sign away your firstborn, right? I mean, it's very intense asking about, are you allergic to latex? Can you, because same thing, they're going to be in your mouth. It's very similar. Like they're, whether they're doing massage therapy on your scalp or you are actually getting, natural chemical treatments on your hair, that it's going to do something to your body. And so it's just so much more protective, I think, to have that documentation in advance, cover your buns. That way you're prepared in case you do have an issue arise.
And what would you say to salon owners that are like, okay, that's a lot to ask. What if I lose clients? Like, what if clients are mad about it and don't want to sign it? Then what?
So the conversation I like to have with my clients is that legal makes you look so much more professional and so much more put together. And so you can schedule a consultation with an attorney and go have a conversation with them about what does it look like to protect my salon? What forms, what policies would you recommend I have in place? And really walk through them so that you understand what they say, what they protect you from, so you can have a conversation with the client if they have questions. And that just becomes a business practice, like going to get a massage or going to the dentist. They also have you sign forms. It's similar. And it protects both of you. It's not a one-way street. So it's protecting you as a business owner, but it's also protecting the client because they know what to expect. They have very clear boundaries in terms of, oh, can't cancel my appointment because I'm within that 24-hour window, or I'm going to be charged, or, if I don't disclose that I have an allergy to, rosemary, or, and it's in the oils or something, that is on me. And so you really have to change the view, I think, of legal, rather than looking at it as this very scary, very overwhelming thing. It's protections for you, it's protections for your client, and it just makes the whole process so much smoother.
And my experience after having this for the last few years has been, we've had certain clients say something and they're like, oh, I have to sign this every single time. I'm like, yeah, again, it's for our protection so that it is your protection, my protection. And they're like, okay, because it's 2 seconds. It's click, 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 sign, Yep. So I try to make it as easy as possible. But also, we do have clients that I get feedback from that's like, this is the most in-depth form that we've had that actually makes us feel really good about coming to your salon, because you really do care, because you're asking the right questions. So it really is kind of shifting that perspective. And for anyone who has listened to me before, or if you're in the academy, you know that not every client is meant to be your client. And if they really have a problem with signing something like that, for me, it's a sign of like, okay, this was not a mutual client stylist relationship, that it's a red flag for me, where I'm like, okay, well, maybe I just don't want to do your hair, because why would you not want to sign something like that? Like, we're not asking you for blood in your firstborn. We're literally asking things that are important for your service.
But I think that is such a very stereotypical view of legal, right? People feel it is so much, and it's hindering me. And so that's where that education piece as a stylist comes in, because you can talk them through the form. So you don't want to just go get policies in place and slap them up and have no idea what they say, never go in and revise, never look at them aside from when you send them to your client. You really do want to understand what the policies are so you can speak to them one-on-one, in non-legal language, and say, look, I prepped for this appointment. I went out and I purchased all of the products. I set aside 4 hours for your treatment. I can't book that 2 hours before. And, oh, okay, well, now that you explain it, and if they don't get it, like you said, they're probably just not the right client for you. And there's other stylists out there who will gladly deal with the cancellations and the product overages because they're having to constantly rejuggle the books and the appointments. You're not, because you've got clear policies.
Exactly. And it's a sustainable business model. And as salon owners, like getting these in place and understanding it. And then my other little tip for your stylist would be to make a Q&A form for them so they understand the policy. Not just you that has to understand the policy as the salon owner. You have to make sure that all of your employees understand it so that they can explain it just as easy and eloquently as you can. So it's really important to have that whole process.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I think I've seen some clients do really successfully is they actually incorporate like that Q&A into social media content so that it's out there. It's part of like making their salon a unique experience. We're explaining what our refund policy is. Doesn't exist, or we're explaining what our cancellation policy is. Maybe you have 48 hours, whatever it is, it becomes part of what they're known for, and they're publicly sharing it. So it's not like somebody can come in and act like they're surprised. If you get a lead on Instagram or Facebook or something, they've been exposed to this conversationally, and it's not such a like, oh, where is this coming from all of a sudden? So,
and in the form that it's all under there, where like we ask them a bunch of questions, but then when it comes to the legal parts of like cancellation, redo, all of that, we have a disclaimer in there of like, this is here to protect you as a client and us as the business. And, this is really like, you are an important part to our business, and we want to make sure we're taking care of you to the highest ability that we can. So they're already seeing like, this is not just oh, we're trying to get over on you kind of thing, or we're trying to make your life harder with all these questions. We really are like taking your appointment so seriously, and we care about your experience. That sets it apart completely, because they they're not experiencing that everywhere. Like a lot of stylists and salons don't even ask questions. They're like, oh, an inch off? Okay. And then that's literally it. Oh, you want brown? Okay. And there's no experience behind it where you're asking all these other questions. And if anybody has been in the industry for long enough, you've seen clients leave to go to other stylists who are asking the right questions, who are creating those experiences, who are setting aside a different set of values for their salon and for their clients.
Yeah, it really does elevate, I think, the whole experience for you as a salon owner, for your stylist, and for your clients. And I think that does translate into your pricing and what, your books look like at the end of the year, because you can charge for that experience and your clients feel comfortable paying for that experience because they know that they're in good hands.
100%. It directly affects your price point when you put all of that together.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about another big thing is the whole trademark. Because as a salon owner and been in business for 13 years, like I want to protect my business and what I do. So we have talked about trademarking and where I'm going to get the salon trademarked and everything with you. So tell us a little bit about like, when is the right time to trademark?
Yeah. So, and that I think makes a really interesting segue into the conversation because we talked about trademarking rights.
Mm-hmm.
You have trademark protections from the moment that you start using a trademark. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. So it's called common law rights. So from the moment that you start using a name, image, be it a logo or a graphic, a slogan, in connection with your business and the goods or services that you're providing. So whether it's shampoo and conditioner, a line of products, or it is haircutting, barbering, whatever it is that you provide in your salon, you have trademark rights. Now, there's limitations with those common law rights. It's based on, where you are geographically, and it hinges on whether you are the first person to have used that trademark in connection with those goods or services or similar goods and services. Registering your trademark gives you much more protective rights. And that's where our conversations have picked up, because if you've been using a trademark like your salon name for 13 years now, if you register that trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, you presumptively have ownership of that trademark in all 50 states, whether or not you've actually done business there. So, it is something that allows you to, if an infringing salon pops up in the city over, you can send a cease and desist letter. And if they ignore you or, blatantly decide that they're going to start infringing on your goodwill and trying to build a salon under your name, you can take them to federal court. You can ask for damages. You can ask for attorney's fees. And so the registration really is protective for you as a business owner because you're building a brand. And that brand is valuable because the registration can be sold. It can be licensed. It can be, used as an asset if you are valuing your business to sell the business. One of the first things that the due diligence team will do if you're looking to sell your salon is come in and look at, do you have intellectual property? Is it protected? Is it registered? And that actually adds value to what they'll say your business is worth. So registration is one of, I think, the best things that business owners can do. Because it really is such a great asset and you're already building your brand. So why not protect it?
Exactly. And that's the whole thing is like, I've kind of heard not horror stories, but more like taking the time and the money and the resources to get this done can feel a little overwhelming, just like the contracts. But what it does for you in the long term is invaluable. Like being able to have that, because we talked, and for my salon, Enlightened Styles, I've been operating under Enlightened Styles for 13 years, and we're registering it because I'm building a brand. And anyone in the academy, if you're signing up and we're building out this entire clean, sustainable business for you, it's not like everybody else's. And it's really important to take all of that work that you've put into it and make sure that it's protected.
Yeah, 100%. Because, I've had clients come to me that have been using names for 20 years, and they found out somebody applied to register it, and it just becomes much more expensive because the onus is on them now to go in and try and get rid of the registration through negotiations. I've had business owners who have just launched and not done their own kind of legal due diligence to see if there's another business out there with the name. And they're on the, receiving end of a cease and desist letter, and they just paid $15,000 for a website. They just paid their graphic designer for their logos. They hired the social media manager, and it's all out there. And I have the fun job of saying, you're infringing. You have to rebrand. And like, thank goodness we're not having to go to court and pay damages. It's cheaper to just rebrand now. And it's a painful lesson. So
yeah. So what would you say for people who like they're not ready to trademark, but they want to make sure that they're not infringing on somebody else's, or they're, trying to create a name? Like, what are some steps that we can take to make sure that we're headed in the right direction to trademark?
yeah, so there are a lot of branding naming specialists out there. And so I definitely, if creative, thought process of naming is not your forte, you can work with a naming expert. If you have a name that you're just attached to and you know that you want to launch with, or even if you're working with that branding agency, the next step really is doing a comprehensive search to look at, is there an existing registration or a pending application for the same or similar mark for the same or similar services? Because under trademark law, the magic words are likelihood of confusion. So if the marks are similar enough and the goods and services are similar enough, there's probably not a chance you can coexist, and you're going to want to rebrand, go a different direction. But if we can do some, behind the scenes research before launching and make sure there's not an issue, then you have kind of the peace of mind of knowing, okay, I can sign that contract with my web designer. I can, launch the, salon. I can, whatever it is, just feel more confident in knowing because you've done that behind the scenes search. There's two types of trademark applications, so it's kind of up to you in terms of comfort level. So there's an intent to use application, meaning that you intend to use a trademark for your salon name by way of example. And you can file without actually using the mark, which is a great way to kind of get in line and have that trademark protected. Or you launch and you're using the mark in commerce, you're signing clients, you have people coming through the salon, then you do an in-use application. And there's kind of a time for each, and that's something that sitting down with an attorney and strategizing what makes sense for you and your business and where you are, I think really is invaluable. Talking with an attorney, I think, is always a smart move.
For sure. And it's worth the time and the money to do that because you're protecting yourself from so many things down the line. So with that, there's so many places we could go and talk about, and we don't want to be on here for hours and hours. With that, the overwhelming piece and the budgeting and all of that, what are some final thoughts maybe to give, or steps for stylists, salon owners to get their stuff in order so that they can have the right contracts, know what they're doing, and maybe if they're looking at trademarking?
I think sitting down with an attorney just for a consultation and explaining, this is my business, what should I prioritize, and what does cost look like? Contract law is state specific, trademark law is federal. And so with contracts, a lot of the times I do recommend stylists work with an attorney in their state because they're going to be familiar with local regulations and what is allowed and not allowed in contracts. I'm based in California, so we're very strict on certain things, whereas other states are not. So a lot of attorneys offer either a free or a discounted consultation for you just to sit down for half an hour, and just kind of get the lay of the land so that you have marching orders and at least know where you're going and what steps you need to take and what you need to budget. I think that small investment for a consultation is one of the best investments that you can make as a business owner. Finding an attorney you're comfortable with, though, is really important. I think that even if it takes maybe reaching out for referrals or talking to a few of them before you actually book, you want to make sure that you find an attorney that you click with, that you feel comfortable asking questions. And there is no dumb question, but I know some of us can feel like, ooh, well, are they going to think I'm stupid for not knowing this? You want to make sure you find an attorney that you're not going to feel that way with. So
yeah, because you're investing a lot. And also what I've noticed is you you're having this attorney, like it's a close relationship, because if anything does happen, you want to make sure that person would have your back and be responsive and speak to you. Like, just, I mean, have nice bedside manners, like your doctor, right? Like nice and supportive. So I think that that's a big thing. For contracts, I know that you offer templates. So how, like, talk to us a little bit about what does that look like and how can that play a part in making our lives easier?
Yeah, so I have my law firm, but I also have a second business. It's called Legal Templates and More. And I was finding that a lot of early stage business owners were kind of skipping over contracts and policies because they just didn't budget for them. And so Legal Templates was born. They are attorney drafted templates for online business owners. If you have a website for your salon, I have a Protect Your Website bundle, for example, that it contains the privacy policy and terms and conditions for your website. So, they are attorney drafted. They're annotated with suggestions for what you can include or what you should include in your policies. And, they're a fraction of the cost of working with me one-on-one, because obviously custom drafting is much more detailed and intense. Yeah. But you have the, kind of feeling of knowing at least, okay, it's 80% of the way there and an attorney drafted it. So I can, massage some provisions and then maybe have an attorney in my state look at them. Things like a podcast guest release or a testimonial release. Because I think a lot of salon owners don't understand that if you have a client that sends you a text message that says, oh my gosh, this is amazing, you did wonderful, I love, you're a great stylist, and they just go share it on their website or they share it on social media. Again, those are the copyright protected words of your client, your customer, and you want to make sure that you have permissions. So those types of templates are there. Cheaper than working with an attorney, but drafted by an attorney. So that's an option.
Yeah. And those are for more online. So the contracts that we have for like cancellation policy, in-person things, you would want to go to somebody local. Am I right on that?
Yeah. I mean, there is kind of generalized language, but again, things are different by state in terms of, like, in California, we have a provision in our law that essentially says that we can't stop people from leaving negative reviews. Whereas in other states, sometimes they'll include something called like a non-disparagement clause, where it says, you come in, you don't like your service, you can't go leave a terrible Google review, or you can't do that in California. So for those types of things, and if you're wanting to include certain provisions in your policies, that's where it benefits you working with the local attorney.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. And everybody is different. Like every state is different. And I'm always shocked at like how different it is in the legal world. So wrapping up, like anything else that we need to know about you or how they can work with you if they want to reach out, especially for like trademarking, because that can be for anyone, right? Or any.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can check out the legal templates in the legal shop at NicoleCheriOden.com. If you're interested in exploring, if you're based in California, or if you are interested in exploring federal trademark registration or even just conducting a search, that's at NicoleCheriOdenLaw.com. And I have a lot of resources there. I have a private podcast called Uncomplicating Trademarks. I have a fun quiz that's Discover Your Legal Persona. It kind of gives you an idea of where you are in your business's legal journey and tips and tricks customized to kind of that persona. But you can always feel free to reach out. I'm sure Jacquelyn's going to include contact info in the show notes, and I'm always happy to point you to a resource or a contact that I have if I'm, not the person that can help.
Amazing. Yeah. And like every episode, we will have all the contacts, all the links that she just talked about in the show notes. So make sure that you go click through, follow Nicole, and really take time to look at your business and your stance of where you are legally, and protect yourself. Don't be the person who has to go through a trauma to find out you need to have these in place. So that is just my biggest tip, is do it now. Yeah. Do it now. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I love everything that you're doing. And I really have just felt so comfortable working with you one-on-one, and the whole trademark thing. And you're just so knowledgeable, and you break it down into such simple steps so I don't feel dumb.
Well, this has been a really fun conversation. I appreciate you asking me to come on because it's been so conversational. It really has just been like having a conversation with a friend. So
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And that's what I love about the podcast. We try to make it as easy and relatable so people can ask the hard questions and get some of those answers without feeling like they're all alone. That's the reason I have the podcast, is because you're not alone. Salon owners out there, we're all struggling. We all have to deal with a bunch of stuff. And my goal on the podcast is to answer those questions, make you feel less crazy and alone. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And make sure that you go in and follow, like I said, follow Nicole, but go check out her templates and look at her trademarking website, which will all be linked. So I will see you on the next podcast.